Like, these are human lives. We're people. We're still sick. So how they could just
Right.
dismiss this, they were in the same time just dismissing us. It's
Right. And immediately when I saw that email that stated that we won't get into that about giving you guys health care, um, I thought back to the meeting I recorded with Durno, and he specifically said, I brought up 1881A, and he's like, I'm not sure what that is. Excuse me? We have receipts. So
he
all
didn't
this
know what
stuff,
hazardous waste cleaning was when OSHA came in and they were talking about how they were going to clean our houses, and we're like, well, shouldn't it have like a hazardous waste cleaning? Like, if there's a meth lab in a house, they bring in these, hazardous waste companies to do a thorough cleaning that's just not wiping down your knickknacks. And Mark Durno acted like he didn't. What do you mean? Like, everybody knows what that is. You can't tell me that he didn't know about any of this. I mean, we see now. And there's a difference between knowing it and actually seeing it in black and white.
right?
Just recently, I know we were going to discuss it, but the test results for the air badge at Candace's house, it's like she knew her house was contaminated. But when you see it in black and white, when you see in black and white that the reason why Norfolk Southern blew those trains up was for money to get them back and running, like, even though we've been screaming this since day one, I think you kind of secretly hope in the back of your mind that you're wrong.
Yeah.
That there's still a little piece of hope that you're wrong, that everything's
Yeah.
fine, that you can stay there, that you can move back home, that your kid's not going to have cancer in 10 years. And when you see it in black and white, it just hits you on a whole different level.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Even though we kind of know in our gut that they're lying, we still kind of maybe. And then when you're like, okay, they really are that awful that they know
Right.
these things are happening and still continue to exacerbate it or not do anything. You brought up, the wiping down the walls and wiping down knickknacks. And other residents have told me that that's what they do. They come in and wipe down the wall.
Well,
Um,
it's better than that, Joy. Initially, what people thought was a cleaning they were doing when they lifted the evacuation, I asked him about it at Norfolk Southern Assistance Center. And he said, well, it's not actually a cleaning, we're deodorizing. We go in with this mister and we mist down all your furniture. And I said, so you have Febreze in my house. Like, that's what they were literally doing, is like Febrezing your house to try to get the chemical smells out of it. So then some people did get a more thorough cleaning, which still was not like a hazmat style cleaning, um, where they got carpet scrubbed and stuff like that. But what the EPA was offering was, if you picked up all your knickknacks and put them away, packed them up, they would wipe off your counters. Okay, I can clean my own house. Like, and you're touching all the dioxins that are on your knickknacks. So it was just kind of, you've been out of your home, relocated, you haven't been exposed. So let's run home real quick and pack up our knickknacks to have our counters wiped down. Um, it's just,
so
uh,
we're not trying to get rid of the chemicals, we're trying to get rid of the smell. Uh,
right. Because if you don't smell it, then how do you
It's
know it's
not
there?
there.
Right.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, the four times I've gone to EP, each time I've been just sick, just violently sick. And I know a lot of you
Because you're
guys,
crazy like we are, Joy. You're a crazy one now.
I know it's all just in my head.
Right.
I did eat some red meat last month. I bet that's what it is.
Hopefully it wasn't any venison from East Palestine.
Right, right. And that's, on that note, Leslie Pacey said that they're going, I hope I'm allowed to say this. They're going to be working on something to get them to finally declare that the fruits, vegetables, and animals for game hunting season are not safe to eat. Because still, EPA says it's fine.
We've
I
passed
mean,
hunting season now here in Ohio, and we ask about that because we're very much a community that lives off of our land. A
right?
poor community. I know communities that would not have eaten if it wasn't for wildlife in the winter. And the EPA is saying it's unlikely. That's their famous word, unlikely. Let's bank our lives on unlikely. It's unlikely that the wildlife has been impacted. A couple days before that, Dr. Chai, one of our creek rangers, was down in the creeks and he saw a dead snake and it had a dead frog inside of it. And when he poked it with the shovel, the frog, chemicals pour out of it. Like common sense. Wild animals drink from those creeks. They walk through those creeks.
Yeah.
Like, how can you say without testing them that our wildlife is fine to eat?
Did he get that on video by chance?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I gotta see that one.
And
I missed that
he
one.
actually took it like I think 3 days before the newsletter came out saying we could eat the wildlife, but he hadn't released it yet.
Oh my
Yeah, it's on Off the Rails. It
god.
might be
Oh,
on the
okay.
Unity Council's Facebook too, but I know for sure it's on Off the Rails.
Man, that is so disgusting.
But
I keep
nobody
thinking,
listens, Joy. Like we have all this proof, we have all these videos,
yeah,
and it's like nobody cares. Like how, as a human being, can you sleep at night knowing that you're doing what you're doing? Like I told Christina, a mutual friend of ours, like if somebody can look at Eddie, your little 5-year-old, every week and then pretend like he cares and know that he's slowly killing him, like I don't care how much money. You could pay me $5 million a year and I couldn't slowly kill one little kid, let
yeah.
alone the number, that Norfolk Southern is killing, EPA is killing.
Speaking of Rick Chai, shout out Rick. We were all rooting for you. Jamie, how hard was that to watch, Rick fight so hard and and run for a position, and then corruption sets
Well,
in.
actually, for someone that has never done politics at all, getting 10% of the vote was pretty admirable. I think
Yeah,
that I think that going into it, he knew that it was a really long shot. People say that they want politicians that aren't controlled by money and corporate greed, but when they run for office, they usually don't get elected because nobody knows who they are unless you have, $1 million campaign. So, I was very, very proud of him. Very
very.
grassroots on the ground. He went into communities and he talked to people. It's
Yeah.
very unfortunate that he didn't get voted into office, but I'm proud of him. And he gave it a good shot. And for the numbers he got, like, I love Dr. Chai. Sorry. Not like that,
Definitely,
Jami. Not like that.
definitely. Yeah, he's incredible. And that's what I said in the Facebook. I forget what group, probably Off the Rails. I said, the difference is whoever got votes were votes. But Dr. Chai, the people who voted for him, it's because he changed them. He inspired them. He gave them hope. So even if it's 5 votes versus 1,000, it doesn't matter because those people who voted for you, you actually connected with. And
Right.
it's so much more important. And yeah, shout out to Dr. Chai because he's a
Agreed.
real gem. Um, speaking of the creeks, you wanted to talk to the so-called cleanup that's going on right now.
Like, I want to say unimaginable, but if I said it every time something was truly unimaginable, I would just sit here saying unimaginable, unimaginable, unimaginable. Uh, so it's been over a year. Um, at first, the EPA was saying everything's fine in your creeks. We're testing the water, no contamination coming back. Anything you're seeing in the creeks is legacy contamination, which you don't tell country folk that. We catch crawdads in those creeks. We catch minnows. We walk them. We swim. We never seen chemical volcanoes. So finally, we found a video of some people in October of 2022. The derailment happened February 2023. That were panning for gold in Leslie Run. So they are digging down in that sediment, you know. I think it's like an hour, 2 hours long. You don't see chemicals anywhere.
Oh,
So then EPA comes out and says, you know what? The creeks aren't clean. Under the Clean Water Act, we're going to order Norfolk Southern to clean them. So they finally came up with a plan, just not this past Monday, but the Monday before they started the creek cleaning. Um, what they did is, like, now, before you could see the sheen just floating down the creek. Now it's all soaked into the sediment. So actually, if you test the water flowing through the creeks, you might get low levels. But as soon as you disturb that, a deer walks into it, just chemicals pour out. So what the
right,
EPA did is they went down the creeks every 25 feet. They dug into the sediment, and what they call the chemicals, to make it sound pretty, is sheen.
right,
So they did a sheen score. Poked the sediment. When the chemicals bubbled out, they would score a 1, 2, or 3. 3 being the heaviest, and 1 being, barely visible. So once they did that, the plan was rudimentary at best. So now they're going to spot clean every 25 feet, where they scored a 2 or a 3 on the sheen. So the idea was to go to these spots where they scored a 2 or a 3, dig them up, take a big vacuum truck and suction the chemicals off the water. They put booms in the creek to catch any chemicals that they missed with the vacuum. Randy DeHaven went down there when they started doing this. And guess what's happening? The chemicals are just free flowing down the creeks again.
yep,
Um, they did stop the cleaning as soon as the EPA found out. Where's the EPA oversight? As soon as they started getting reports of this, they ordered Norfolk Southern to stop cleaning. Where was the workers' common sense? If you're
right,
cleaning up chemicals and you see them pouring out, wouldn't you say, "Hey, maybe this isn't right"? Uh, but anyways, so they ordered Norfolk Southern to stop. They are coming up with another plan to clean. Mark Durno said that this is unacceptable, but it's unacceptable. These are our kids' lives. That's what's unacceptable. This isn't, whoops, I spilled a glass of milk. Sorry, unacceptable. We've been exposed to multiple disasters, not just one. The
right,
first one was the derailment. The second one was blowing up the tankers and having no need to do it. The third one was as soon as they started digging that dirt, contaminated dirt out of there and exposing us to all those gases, all the dust flying around. And then, you know, yet another disaster. We have chemicals free flowing down our creeks again. When does it
right,
stop? When do they say the science just isn't there? All of their science that they're following is based on exposure to a single chemical. There are no studies on multiple chemical exposure, even at lower levels. So when you start listening to the people, listening to their bodies, how many people have to say we're having these symptoms and they just keep saying, well, the science doesn't say, well, the science doesn't say, because the science isn't there.
right,
Like, again, it's almost like, I say it over and over, the Twilight Zone. Like, this can't
mhm,
possibly be reality, that we know the study isn't there and they're basing it on a whole different set of science and nobody's saying anything.
I mean, truthfully, they could even do things such as, you know, look, I haven't had any seizures or tremors until after the derailment. I will provide you my history with my doctor. I give you permission. Look through. There's not, I mean, they they won't do anything because they will try and obfuscate and blame anything for this. And you
Wait,
know,
wait, wait. Not anything, Joy, except for Norfolk Southern. It
well,
could
this
be
is
from
true.
onions, it could be from barbecue grills, but do you ever
Mhm.
hear it could be from the toxic chemical bomb that exploded over your town? How are you supposed to trust the EPA when they never, ever put that in there as a reason why this could possibly be happening?
Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely. So I know, like, I want to talk about taxes because a lot of you guys got the 1099s that you would have to pay taxes on any kind of compensation or whatever you want to say for like hotels or, any kind of reimbursement from Norfolk. You guys got 1099s. When Biden came last month, he said, "Oh, we're going to take care of that." And it's my understanding that there were at least one or two meetings and nothing has been done about that. Can you give an update?
So they have uh, overridden the tax laws for the state and local government to be taxed on this money. We've heard different things. I mean, the money was reimbursements. So it's not like we had extra money to spend or this was
Right,
income. It literally went like from my hand to the hotel's hand. So how they can charge us, taxes on that. And also, Norfolk Southern told us, people asked, like, why are we filling out these W-9s? And they said it was for their own tax purposes. So you want to talk about fraud? Then people get these things in the mail, and then we were told it was only for income. So the reimbursements didn't count, but they had given people $1,000 inconvenience fee back when they lifted the evacuation. Like, you stupid people are going to come home and we haven't even tested. So here's $1,000. And so
right,
many people, because we're so poor of a community, you have 4 kids, that's $5,000. Most people have never seen $5,000 in their bank account around here. And I think
right,
that's part of the reason why people were so willing. But they were including that as income. And then some people had received money for lost wages. So they were saying you only had to pay taxes on lost wages and the inconvenience fee. Again, it's back and forth. But I think that Senator Vance and Sherrod Brown have a bill right now that's waiting to be voted on so that we would get tax relief on the federal level.
yeah. I mean, I gotta say, JD Vance, man, I saw him in that hearing. Woo! I was like, yes. And that woman who took the stand, I forget her name, but I was like,
Hamidi, or the woman from NTSB.
yeah.
Yeah.
She just
I thought you
she
were talking about JD Vance's looks for a minute. I'm gonna
Oh!
call out. I'm gonna
I
call out
mean,
a
he's not
couple.
bad looking.
Right. Let's call out a couple of my Unity Council girls. When we met him in DC, it's funny because I won't say the name. Alexis was like, "Oh my gosh," and I'm like, "Shut up! Your husband's never gonna let you come back to DC." And my husband's like, "Yeah, you're probably fawning over him too." And I showed him the picture, and you see 3 girls on one side, and they're all snuggled up to him, and then on the other side, there's like my stepdad, my brother, and me. And I'm like, "See, I was the good girl."
I mean, he's kind of cute. All right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
I was
JD
like,
Vance's wife. I know he's happily married.
oh, I was just like really glad the woman from the NTSB, like, she actually added stuff when he was done asking questions. Like, she was actually like pissed at, what was going on. And I was like, it was a hearing about the aircraft. It wasn't even about EP. And he
Right.
interjected with EP, which was just amazing. That was
But
awesome.
here's the problem with that. Um, she was from the NTSB. They do not have any real authority.
Right.
They cannot enforce their recommendations. They are only recommendations. That's something I would love to see changed, because I feel like people that, serve on this National Safety and Transportation Board, they serve on it because they truly care about that. It's not like a profession that you're just like, oh, I want to do transportation safety. I feel like they're the experts. They're the ones that truly know. And when they do this over year long investigation and they say, here are our findings, here are our recommendations, they should have the authority, to enforce those recommendations. Theoretically, what could happen is they could make all these recommendations and, they could say, we don't care and just move on. That's a real shame that they don't have more authority to actually enforce those recommendations, because like you said, the stuff they uncovered, the passion that you heard in that woman's voice, she
Yeah,
was pissed. She was
she
pissed.
was. She was, absolutely. She wants justice. And I'm sure it's frustrating for her that, like, I know this. Why won't you listen to me? One of the things I wanted to talk to you about that is really concerning to me, and I'm sure many others, is the class action. An article stated about a week and a half ago that 500,000 people are on the class action. What is your response to that?
I'm going to be completely honest. I have not looked into the attorneys yet. I talk to one quite frequently that's from East Palestine, just because he's a friend of mine, and uh, his parents or his mom got evacuated. So, but for me, I've had such a huge focus on human health. I know that we have 2 years to file these lawsuits. I have a JD, so I know better than to just go sign up with an attorney. I mean, fact of the matter is, you could and then fire them. But I want to look into the class actions versus the mass torts versus, just different entities that can be sued. I want everybody held accountable.
Yeah,
And I want some members of the EPA, some members of our local government, and some members of Norfolk Southern to be held criminally liable.
yep,
Um, if I poisoned my husband for his life insurance money, I'd be in prison right now. Norfolk
right.
Southern poisoned at least 4,700 people for money. Why aren't they in jail? Um, so that's my big thing with the attorneys is I just haven't researched it yet. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, we'll probably never see real money out of this. I was talking to, we had the first meeting of our chemically impacted communities coalition, SICK, and we had, all these communities across the country that have been impacted chemically. A lot of them, shame on me for never, I never heard of them before. I'd never heard of Love Canal or Times Beach, Missouri, or, I knew BP oil spill. I kind of knew that, but Cancer Alley, and so it was interesting talking to them and seeing how many of these things carry over. But what was my point of saying that, Joy? This is how
I was
my
just
brain
thinking
is
about,
like
I learned
mush.
all that
Oh,
once I started covering EP. So
right,
you're
the
not the only
money.
one.
It goes back to the attorneys. So these people from Porter Ranch, California were on there. I apologize for not remembering your name. Like, that was our first meeting, but they were telling us about, they wanted to talk to us about one of the attorneys that are in here for East Palestine, because what their attorneys did, and it's funny, you kind of see it on the Aaron Brockovich movie, is these attorneys are going to make so much money. To
Yep.
them, it's not truly about justice, it's about the money. So people are afraid that they're going to settle out of court before it goes to trial, because they really, when you're talking about the numbers that these attorneys are going to get per attorney, you don't really need to take it to trial. The only
Right.
benefit of that is getting more money for the clients, because you already have more money than you could ever possibly spend. But they were telling us at Porter Ranch, I think they said each attorney got $5 million, and each resident got, I think, $16,000. Um, I would really like, Joy, I wish I had more time. What a lot of people don't know is you can negotiate your attorney fees. There's like a rate that, is normally set, but depending on the amount of work that you do personally, like say you're going through a divorce and you go get all the social security cards and birth certificates at the county clerk's office, and I don't know, you research and you tell them what laws apply. And then you could say, okay, well, can I get a 20% fee versus the 33 to 40% that's normally paid? So in my eyes, what the residents need to do is we need to say, look, let's do a sliding scale. Like, at the end of the day, you're still only trying one case. So why do they need to make that percentage from each one of us? Let's say, okay, you sign up from 1 to 500 East Palestine residents, then the residents only have to pay 30%. If you get 2,000, then the percentage goes down to 20%, because they're still going to make bank, and
Right.
truly the people that are suffering are going to get screwed. So I would love to be able to go in and negotiate with some of these attorneys and be like, look, like, you guys are making buku bucks. Nobody needs that much money. These
Nobody.
people actually have harm. Um,
Yeah.
but that's why I didn't take the bar. I just got my law degree and then got my master's in public administration. Don't really like the way they always work.
I think one of my concerns, and many others, is like, with the 500,000 people, we know damn right well they all don't live in East Palestine. So what some people are surmising is that people as far as 30 miles out are joining the class action. Now the issue with that is, what about all of you guys who are, let's say, 10 miles and under, who literally have had to move, who have been sick, who, you know,
But but here's my point, Joy. We don't have enough testing to even know who's at the most risk. Am
right?
I at the most risk if I'm at ground zero? Or is it somebody that lives 5 miles away, but they live right on the creeks? I've talked to a couple of different scientists. We all know that plume hit Pennsylvania hard.
Yes.
If you look at the plume map Carnegie Mellon did, it went clear up to Cleveland into Canada.
Yeah.
It went clear down through Pittsburgh. It went, and I remember it all goes back to the very first meeting we had with an independent scientist. It was Stephen Lester from CHEJ. He was the lead dioxin expert at Love Canal for the government.
Mhm.
Ended up marrying Lois Gibbs. That's everyone's homework. If you don't know who Lois Gibbs is, Gibbs from Love Canal, look her up. She's my hero, and she always makes me feel like I'm not doing enough.
Isn't
But
she the one
anyways,
that Hank had in his uh documentary?
no, she is the house mother from Love Canal that kidnapped the EPA agents and put them in her basement
Oh, right, right, right.
and
What a
refused to
hero.
release
Yes.
them until I'm always like, she makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. And I told Steven, I was like, because I talk to him often, I said, Lois is my hero. And he said, well, you know what she'll tell you? I'm not a hero. I was just a mom fighting for my baby. And I said, you know what? When people say, like, how'd you become the next Aaron Brockovich? I'm not Aaron Brockovich. I was just smart enough to know that house wasn't safe and I wasn't taking my daughter into it. But, anyways, completely a roundabout way, Stephen Lester was the first independent scientist, and it was the first time we heard the word dioxin. We didn't know how dioxins were. And he said that if the true nature of how far this contamination spread was revealed, that it would cause mass economic hardship in this region, and they will do everything they can to cover it up. Along the same lines, Dr. Thompson, I don't know if you met him yet or not, Joy, the one from New Jersey. Anyways, we were talking about the plume, and he's been a toxicologist 50 years, testified as an expert witness in 52 different cases, wrote 21 books. So he's a very intelligent man. And we were talking about the plume because I know you probably saw Christina's pictures where you see the
Yes.
plume and it almost looks like if you've ever seen rain in the distance, like that kind of mist coming down, and you can see the particulates dropping out of that plume right onto the ground. And what Dr. Thompson told me is that the bad part is that the heaviest particulates fall out of that cloud first, and the smallest ones are traveled the furthest. But the
Wow.
smallest ones are actually the most damaging ones because they get embedded in your lungs. So as far as it going 30 miles, there's no doubt in my mind that that contamination went 30 miles. It's hard to say who's worse off and who isn't. In my opinion, it's not about money. They could shove every single penny up there
Ass.
behind. I'm working on trying not to swear this year, Joy. They can
Sorry.
shove it up there behind. I don't care about the money. We're never going to get the money anyways. It's not about the money. So, 30 miles, who am I to say that you weren't impacted? And we all know it depends on your body burden. Maybe I
Sure.
live 10 miles out, but I'm fighting cancer. They're going to be worse off than a healthy person living. So, I mean, we just don't even know how many people were impacted, how big that distance is. I'm sure they will have they do, say like classes within the classes, like within a
That's what
class
I was
action
wondering.
there's
Okay.
different groups, like, okay, all the people that are homeowners are in a group. So if you're in multiple groups, say you're a homeowner, you live within the 1 mile zone, and I don't know, you were out of your home for so long, then you're going to fit into like all three of those groups. So people will get more money than other people. It's just I don't know how they're going to organize those groups.
Oh, okay. So a class action can have segments, so to speak.
Right, because some people have more harm than
Okay.
others. Just because you're all suing for the same harm, doesn't mean, I wasn't a homeowner. I was just renting. So when it comes to like property loss as far as your home, someone that rents shouldn't get as much money as someone who was owns a home.
Right.
If and like you said, if you live at the 1 mile zone and you had to throw away every single thing in your house, you deserve more than someone that didn't throw away a thing. Um,
Right.
so they
Right.
do that. There's ways to do it, but basically, Joy, no matter how you look at it, we're not ever going to see what people think we're going to see from this.
No. No.
We'll probably all get
Because
a $5,000 check 20 years from now.
and it wouldn't surprise me. And it's so disgusting because, for I know those who regularly watch me probably know this, but $25 million Norfolk Southern is paying to build a park in East Palestine. That could effectively buy out everyone within at least the 1 mile radius,
Did
but
you
they
see
won't.
the Did you see the newest thing on that, Joy? Speaking of
Oh,
Norfolk
God.
Southern, so we found out that East Palestine Village recently acquired a 16-acre plot of property. Um, but if you look on the auditor's website, they paid $0 for it.
I saw that. How interesting.
Mhm. And they're supposedly going to put like an administrative complex there. But it's funny because you don't hear any of this from your city, village, whatever government it is. I always call it city council. It's village council.
Yeah, and I sent that to Leslie because I was like, this can't be legal. I mean, maybe it's legal. I don't know, but it just,
Well,
how do you,
it's you skirt around the law. I'd really like to have someone look into a Trent Conaway, Mr. Mayor, did a podcast for they're called. I'm not even going to say what they're called because they were such jerkweeds. See how I stopped that? Um,
jerkways?
Jerkweeds. They were friends of the mayors, and they were on there saying some not very nice things to Unity Council. But Trent was talking about this $1 million that was given to.
Uh-oh. You still there, Jamie? Ruh-roh. Uh-oh. She'll come back in. Matt, you can join us if you want. I just saw you join the comments. You're welcome in. You're welcome. Yeah, this is so frustrating because even over a year later, East Palestine is forever updating every freaking day. There are new things that come out, and I cannot tell you how disgusted and frustrating it is to have people. Every time I post about East Palestine, there is at least one or two people who jump in and say, well, they should sue. Yeah, no shit. What do you think it happens overnight? Do you think it just automatically comes to fruition? All right, I'm sorry about that. Continue.
My bad. I don't know what to do to my phone. Like when people try to call in, or in this case, I had an alarm set. I don't even know why. And I tried to shut the alarm off.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. The whole lawsuit thing, it's worrisome. But also, I do want to talk to you about, updates for people like Chrissy. I know she is terrified. She is about to lose her home. Um, she is seeing no. I don't know if you saw when we did the Jill Stein town hall. Chrissy literally got down on her knees and put her hands to the sky and begged for help. It was gut wrenching. But and she's been scared she's going to lose her house forever. And well, this is to clarify, it's not her house, it's the house she's been staying at because her house is a toxic mess. um do you have any updates on I haven't talked to her in about a week.
No. And as sad as it is to see Chrissy, It's Chrissy. It's every person like Chrissy that I love and care about.
Yeah.
It's all of my family members. Like there are so many people, Candace, stuck in this home where her little kids are covered in rashes,
Yeah.
nosebleeds, so many other people, the Albrights. They started doing this stuff to the creek that I was telling you guys about earlier. The next day, it started storming, and I don't think it stopped since. Like, I don't know if you've seen, but we have all these flash flood warnings, and we're having
Yeah.
mudslides, and, like, what do you think that's doing to the sediment in the creeks?
Right.
And people see that. I mean, I know you're on a lot of our Facebook pages, Joy, and you
Mhm.
can literally get on Facebook and see what kind of day it's going to be. Like, depending on the weather, you'll start seeing people say, boy, the smell's terrible today. It's terrible today. Then, oh, had a nosebleed today, major headache today. Like, again, when do you not need science? Why can't you just look and see what's
Right.
going on? Like, all these people aren't just saying, okay, that's one person, the leader gets on Facebook and says, doesn't it smell? And then we all follow suit. Like,
Right.
come
Right.
on, listen to us.
Yeah.
It's
And there
frustrating.
is,
It's beyond frustrating.
it is, and there is literally zero chance in hell, zero chance that Mark Journo of the EPA had his office in East Palestine and never got sick. Zero chance. Because I would go
He,
there literally for 2 hours and have nosebleeds and vomit and, be lightheaded and everything like that. And now the office is open, appointment only.
he doesn't even stay in town. He stays in like
Nope.
Warren, I think. I think it's interesting that every time politicians come in, including the president, they meet at 1820 Candle House.
Yes.
Um, Do you think candles mute the smell of chemicals?
Ain't that the shit?
And it was so the municipal building, uh, our city hall sits on top of the creeks, one of the tunnels. So the day Stephen Lester spoke, before the mayor started being a total
Butthole.
butthole. Thank you. See, I was thinking of a word. I'm like, before he started being a total I was gonna call him a pea bug head.
A
But
meatball.
anyways, I had walked down to the municipal building because it was right there to see if he wanted to join us at this kid's town hall. When I walked into the municipal building, it was the only building that I smelled that was stronger than my home. I asked the girls there, like, they're just like giving you that look, like when I said, "How are you working in here?" Like, we can't see anything, but and I asked where Trent is. Oh, well, he hasn't even been working from there. So we had heard that, the, long story short, pipes lead from some of these buildings down into these tunnels where the gases are building up. The pipes were never capped off when they went to a different sewer system. They used to dump the sewer into the creeks. Um, but word has it that one of those pipes was not capped off at the municipal building and they had to cap it. When we asked the city government that, they told us to get a FOIA request because I'm like, they should have told other people like Chrissy this. So, anyways, an interesting article came out last week from the president of our village council, Dougie Boy is what I call him. His real name is Doug Simpson. He has spoken out against Unity Council and sick residents since day one. One of the first council meetings after the derailment, he's like, if you're with us, great, and if you're not, we're going to change your minds. His wife had posted a post saying, I'm up at the hospital and all these people from East Palestine, and I'm the lucky one getting admitted. Immediately, she took it down. And the next day, when her husband was bashing people saying they were sick on Facebook, I'm like, your own wife was sick. No, they denied it. And I said, screenshotted it. And then she said that did not imply it was from the derailment, that it was like viral bacteria and pneumonia. So fast forward last week, an article comes out. Um, Doug Simpson, Dougie Boy, and his wife have been living outside of East Palestine in a trailer down in Darlington because his wife's been so sick. So you have this guy who's not fighting to get residents out of their homes that's not in his home. So, anyways, I posted it on Facebook, and this woman wrote, I really feel bad for Doug's wife, but we begged him to get us out of that building. She was sick and she worked in that municipal building. And I, in fact, had said something to Trent at the last town hall in the auditorium when him and I got into it. One of the things I said to him was, "You're making those girls work down there in that building," because I'd just been down there a couple days before that, and you can't even breathe in there. And his response, "I'm not making anybody work in there. If they want a paycheck, you're making them work." So these are just like, this is barely scraping the issues that we've had, but the
Right.
corruption is so in your face and outright. You know, creating positions for children of fire department firefighters for the assistant fire chief's daughter. She's now the event planner for Norfolk Southern. Um, Chief's girlfriend created a position in the firehouse for her. Like I said, all the PR firms, marketing firms, $500,000 economic consultant, $750,000 for a 10-year contract to recruit kids to a school that hasn't even been properly tested or cleaned. They gave money to the PTO. I mean, it just, the list goes on and on and on. It's right out in the open and nobody cares.
Yeah. I mean, I get sent stuff all the time as a whistleblower, and I'm so thankful to be, trusted by Government Accountability Project, and they keep me in the loop constantly. And some of the stuff people send me is astounding, and it's frustrating as a journalist that I can't always go, look what I just got. Sometimes I can't, understandably, but I had someone from the school reach out to me and said, "Hey, this isn't safe," and things like that. But like, you can't speak out when you have a job, you need a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So these people are in this hostage situation. I have a feeling, and I don't know, this is probably conjecture, but I have a feeling on that class action, some of the names are going to be firefighters, first responders, people like that, because we know some of them are sick. Not some are saying it behind closed doors and they're not coming out publicly, but we know some are sick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's the case as well?
Oh, we know some of them are sick, and there are several um, from, there was what, 80 fire departments there. Some of
Mhm.
the early FOIA requests of text messages between the fire chief and the mayor, the same ones that had the juicy ones about me in the batch, they were talking about a firefighter who was so sick and they didn't know where to take him. Um, Even though the fire chief was doing interviews saying none of the firefighters were sick. But I've had a lot reach out to me from different fire departments. I'm not going to say East Palestine, not trying to get anybody in trouble, but I'm saying fire departments that were there on the ground that have told me things that I have not shared with anyone. Because if you come to me and you want me to keep something anonymous, and no matter how bad I want to say it, no matter how bad I want to say, you need to say this publicly, I understand everyone's situation. And I
Right.
don't lie. If I tell you I'm not going to tell anybody, I'm not going to tell anyone. So, that's another really frustrating part to me is East Palestine used to be a community that cared about each other. If someone had
Mhm.
cancer or was in an auto accident, the whole town was coming together to raise money for them. That's not, this East Palestine is not the East Palestine that I knew and loved at all.
Absolutely. And something that's been happening for months is people are, how do I say it? Being targeted. People who speak out, things are happening to them that are very scary. And do you ever fear that? I mean, you've been the most outspoken EP person since day one, hands down, no
Got
question.
the biggest mouth.
Do you fear that there's going to be some kind of retribution?
Mm, I've already had to call and try to get a restraining order on someone. Were you here when that guy came into town? I won't even say his name because he goes from
Yeah.
disaster to disaster. It got to the point where I had to call the police and make a police report. I was afraid. I would not go door to door in East Palestine today. Like as of right now, never, ever, even when I was a small child, had a fear of walking the streets in East Palestine. It's very uncomfortable now. I don't like to do it just because I don't know what somebody may do. As far as being targeted by the police, I am like, I'm scared. Not gonna lie. I try not to go to East Palestine because I've seen them target other people. I've seen them openly bash me on Facebook. Um, but I was told it's gonna sound terrible from someone from another chemically impacted community. They were talking about people that come in and they're going strong and then they just go away. And she said people disappeared. And I know you're thinking crazy conspiracy theorists, but if you lived my life this past year, it ain't crazy. But she said, and I was like, oh gosh. And she's like, you don't have to worry because you're too outspoken. Like if I
That's
disappeared,
kind of what I think. Yeah.
yeah, if I disappeared, y'all gonna be like, where the hell she go? Like we know she didn't just shut up
Oh,
and
if
go
I don't
away.
hear from you
Uh,
for a day, I'm like,
right.
Christina, Jimmy, okay?
Yeah. It's almost like you want to do a group, chain letter to say check in every day, because it is scary. When you're speaking about the depth of the corruption that we have seen, when we have uncovered the things that we have uncovered, when your own government and police department and fire department and city council is against you, it's a very scary situation to be in. But in all honesty, frame me, put me in jail for 1,000,000 years. But for the love of God, get the kids out of there. I honestly believe that most of us adults would stay if there was a way to get our kids to safety, um, because they're the ones that are truly going to suffer from this. If I get cancer in 10 years, I'm already an old hag. I was probably going to die in 15 years anyways, but my 4-year-old daughter is not. She's the one that's going to face the infertility problems. She's going to face, yeah, I face cancer, but she's going to face early onset of cancer. Just talking to a relative of mine earlier tonight, she is, gosh, it's been almost 3 years younger than me. And she was having some issues and got tested, and they say she's postmenopausal. Um,
Wow.
like it's crazy, and I said that's weird because my husband keeps telling me he thinks I'm going through menopause because of my mood swings and night sweats. I said I think it's stress, but now I'm like maybe I should go get tested for it.
Wow.
Um, but it's just and watching my mom, um, it's a hard one. She is very sick. She's been very sick. She now has like this big, looks like someone smacked her in the middle of the forehead with something and split it open, like this big scab open wound. But she didn't hit it, and now it's like kind of moving back into her scalp. A lot of people are saying that they have scabs on their head and their scalp. She went to the dermatologist who said, actually, like, you see the nurse, she called in the doctor, and the doctor's like, I've never seen anything like this. I'm not even going to treat it until we do a biopsy because I'm afraid that whatever I treat it with might interact. My mom's almost 70 years old. Um, how do you stop? People are like, you need a break. You need to breathe. It's been causing my advocacy, causes problems in my marriage. Um, Takes away from attention from my daughter because it is like I'm almost crazy obsessed from morning until night. It's all I think about. It's all I do. Like my shoulder has really been hurting me. I'm pretty sure it's like carpal tunnel from texting so much. Because if something comes up, I'll text all the 189 media contacts in my phone personally and keep them up to date of what's going on. But how do you stop when your mom's sick? When my 18-year-old niece moved back to town and started having seizures, she was in the hospital for 5 days. When my brother has to have a biopsy on his liver and an MRI on his lungs for nodules. When my other two 13-year-old nieces have been diagnosed with chemical bronchitis. One of them has also like this strange rash stuff on her head that they keep telling her is psoriasis that she didn't have like that before. And that's just a couple of my family members. It's not talk about everyone else in my family, every person I've ever grew up with and loved. Like There's no quitting. That's not an option.
What what do you think? I mean, it's kind of conjecture, but what do you think Stella's like the scab on her forehead is from? Do you think it's shower water, as some of the other people were saying?
No. I'll tell you what I think it is. And actually, a scientist will make good theory, Jamie, using common sense. Because one of the things that would happen to me is when this first happened, we were staying in a hotel down in Knoll, West Virginia, right over the river. Um, it's close. We live right by PA, West Virginia, and Ohio. But anyways, I would go into town for the day, and I would come home and shower and break out in rashes. So my husband's like, "Oh my God, the Ohio River's contaminated, and this water's contaminated." And I'm like, I think it's something with the way the water reacts with the chemicals that are on your skin.
Oh,
And a lot of these chemicals react to water. You know how like when there's day, and I don't, God, I'm not a scientist, please, but like on days where there's like more moisture in the air, the chemicals seem to be stronger
yeah,
because somehow like they bind to the water molecules. So I think the combination of chemicals being on your skin and the hot water hitting it is causing the rashes and things.
that makes sense.
But guess what, Joy? There's nobody here to tell us. We still don't have a toxicologist. Like, I appreciate President Biden sending in researchers, grant money for research on us. That's probably going to be most beneficial to other people. You know, I trust me, I truly appreciate that. Because, if my daughter gets early cancer, at least I might be able to save your daughter. Um, but the reality of it is, you don't just say sit there in the chemicals and let us study you
Right,
like lab rats. Like, we deserve to have a toxicologist. They put a clinic in town for us. The state did, but guess what? There's no toxicologist that works there.
right.
Like, don't we at least deserve that?
They don't want you guys to know.
Mhm.
That's the thing. It's like if they give you a toxicologist, they're actually going to have to do something.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
God. It's so crazy because every single day something is still happening in East Palestine. And I want everyone watching to talk to the other, to send other YouTubers chats and messages and comments to say, why aren't you talking about East Palestine, Ohio? Because it's me, Max, and Status Quo. That's it.
News Nation.
News
Don't
Nation.
forget, holla
News
Rich,
Nation.
haul off.
Rich,
um,
Rich
yeah,
McHugh.
right.
Um, but yeah,
But
I
it's
mean, out of all the indie media, you
Mhm.
guys, we can't, I mean, this is nowhere near over. Nowhere near. So we have to do better with, telling other people to start covering it as well. Um, my audience only reaches so far. We got to get these stories out. Um, we,
But
what's that?
just real quick, Joy. One of the things I spent today doing is they're having a national conference of environmental journalists in
Oh,
Philadelphia right now. So I was trying to get one of my contacts. Regan's the keynote speaker, to see if anybody was going, because I have a couple questions for Regan. But when you look at it, I don't think journalists realize the power that they hold. Like the person from the press I got a hold of that's going to ask the questions for me, if she gets a chance, and she's also going to say Jamie Wallace from East Palestine wants to know Regan. Um, so look out for my questions if she gets up there. But I told her, I said, thank you. Like, literally, you asking those questions could save lives. And I feel like we need to get back to that place in media and journalists, that we need to report on the stories that really matter, not the
yeah,
Jerry Springer show that people want to see. When national news outlets say, I would love to have you on to talk about how people in your community are testing for very high levels of vinyl chloride metabolite, but Trump's getting indicted, so we don't have room. To me, the fact that the CDC told us you all have chemicals in your body, we don't know what to do about that, but we can treat the cancers it causes. You would think if a group of 4,700 people were told that would be on the news. Um,
right, right.
Something was going on.
Absolutely.
I think it was the president's son snorting lines again. Kicked me out of that interview. But it's like when you
Right.
look at it, and I keep saying I fail to believe that people could know what was going on here and not be horrified. Like if I heard of a community that's been sitting there in chemicals for a year and the kids are still having blood coming out of their noses, I'd be like, there's no way that as a human you could turn a blind eye. So I keep telling everybody the only thing that's going to save us at this point is awareness and prayers. So I agree 1,000,000% with what you're saying, Joy. We need to stop going into these stories and reporting on the big boom. Of course, every media in the nation was here when they blew those trains up. Oh, it was a big explosion. News should be news. It shouldn't be entertainment like movies and, things of that nature. And I feel like, that reporters have a duty to follow up on stories. The 1 year anniversary comes around, and a lot of these same media people that came in initially are calling. And like you said, Joy, something happens every day. Um, each small event is unimaginable, but the totality of it is earth shattering. And you
Right.
start talking to these reporters and they're like, oh my God, Jamie, I didn't know. Well, yeah, because you never came back for a year. So journalists
Exactly.
play a very important role in all this, creating that awareness. Like I said, this is literally people's lives.
Yeah.
So take that into consideration to all you journalists, other than Joy, because she knows.
Well,
And
I told
Jordan
you,
and
you guys are stuck with me. I told you that. I was like, yeah. So I'm coming to see you, but just so you know, it's not going to be the first time. And
no,
4
joke's on
trips
you, Joy.
later.
You're stuck with us.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down. Let's go.
I told you. You think I'm joking? I can't wait to put little Eddie and Kyla on the bus to go visit Aunt Joy for the summer.
Yay.
I'm gonna call it birth control for you. Your
I'll
two
be
little birth control
45 next
tablets.
month, so I don't no
Oh,
babies.
did I tell you that my husband caught him outside on the swing set playing activist? He goes
Yes.
outside and they're on the swing set and they're screaming, "Make it right, clean our creeks," and they're 4 and 5. You know them, Joy. I don't know if your audience does. And my husband's like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "We're playing activist." I'm like, "We caught him in the mud puddles with the test strips to the swimming pool. Um, they were doing water testing." I'm just like, this is not the childhood I wanted for my children, but God, I love them.
I know, they're the best, and Eddie was probably like, "The Quakes!"
Right? Oh yeah.
That's not Quakes! He's
Whatever. Yeah.
I got the picture of him going because he lost his first tooth.
I
Shout
know.
out, Eddie. Shout out.
It kind of freaked Kyla out though. Kyla was like, "Your teeth fall out." And I'm like, I don't think I ever explained to her what happens. Those two just they crack me up so hard. I can't
They're
with
the
them. But
best. Well, what is something that you want to leave people with about East Palestine who are watching?
I'm gonna put it to you like this: this will happen again. Uh, this is not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. It's a issue of human lives. Politics have no business when it comes to human health issues. These legislators up on Capitol Hill stalling this railway bill. Um, they're playing politics with your kid's life.
Mhm.
You can look at reports done by Break Free from Plastic. Is that who? No, Toxic, or yeah, Break Free from Plastic, I think did it. Or was it Toxic Free Future? I'm going to be in so much trouble. But they did a report where they showed where these trains travel throughout the United States with these dangerous chemicals on them, and how close they are to schools and how many people are impacted. So anybody that's listening that can hear a train go by their house, this could be you. Our kids are suffering now. It could be your kids tomorrow. So don't turn a blind eye. Don't shut up. Fight with us. We need help. I'm tired.
Absolutely.
Look at me. Like compared
I'm
to what I look
tired
like.
just I'm tired just talking to all of you and just hearing everything you're
Right.
going through. Like it's mentally exhausting, like to just be an empath. You know what I mean? It's like it's just
I know
and
what you mean. That's exactly me. Yeah, it's like
And
And
being,
it's not just, it's like the stories too. It's not like you're walking around New York City and knocking on doors where people may not know each other. Like you have to remember, like we've all known each other since we've been little kids. So when you're talking to someone and they're talking about their 3-year-old being covered in hives, you've known that baby. You have
yeah,
known that mother. You know, it's like the emotional toll, the mental toll that it has taken on me over this past year. I can't put it into words.
yeah. Well, I love you guys so much, and I will continue covering and talking to you and doing every freaking thing I can. You guys, thank you so, so much for tuning in. I still have that Give, Send, Go on my Twitter and Facebook. I think I'm just going to keep going until I hit the goal. So if you have a few bucks, please chip in. It's been able to, buy diapers and humidifiers and things like that for
Not
people
one
who need
bottle of water from anybody in our government. Not one
not
single
one.
bottle of water. Thank you, Joy, for the water. Sorry, I had to
Yeah,
say
no
that.
problem. I hope to, every time I come, I gotta bring something, but man, you guys come, speaking of East Palestine, tune in right here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Jill Stein will be back. If you haven't seen the video of her when I organized and hosted the town hall for East Palestine last month, she was the guest along with Scott Smith. Check that out on my YouTube. Um, Join us here tomorrow night. We're going to talk about that town hall, talk about her campaign, and all kinds of other things. So definitely tune in. Again, Jami, thank you so, so much. And as always, we will keep in touch. Keep me
Thank
posted.
you, Joy. Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you, everybody, for listening.
Much love, everyone.
Bye bye.